Alright guys, what's up? Shouts out here and I got a quick little new video here for you guys. I'm gonna get straight to the point. I have like a little bit of an update for my channel and what I have plans for future videos, so be sure to stick around towards the end for that, okay? So anyways, let's get started. I'm very happy to be working with two YouTube channels. I've been working with Awesome Sauce Network and also Paul's Hardware. Mainly Paul's Hardware lately. One thing that is every editor's pain in the ass is fucking render time. So no matter how big or small a project, usually you have to, depending on the render time, you have to sit around and wait for your computer to respond, or depending on what you do. Render times can suck, with Paul, usually everything is mainly all just selecting like the right footage and putting everything in the right spot and whatnot. So it's not that big of a deal. However, Paul, he was a really cool guy and he basically helped me with the computer. And another feature that he did that I didn't even know about because I'm not as smart as he is in regards to computers is that he did a GPU acceleration. So that's something that you guys may want to look into if you have a PC. I started with Macs. I started with the iMac, and it was good. I did the job done, but mainly had to work in 720p because once I started working in 1080p, it basically started lagging like really bad, and just the render times were retarded. But the cool thing about the what he did with this computer is a GPU acceleration CUDA. I believe I have a GTX 670 graphics card. So instead of rendering through the CPU, it renders on the GPU. All right. I'll admit I didn't do any research before making this video. So if I'm wrong, go ahead and yell at me in the comments section. But the cool thing about this is that with my iMacs, any little filter that I would add to the footage, it would turn red, and I had to, pre-render it so I can play in real time. But the cool thing about this GPU acceleration is this. So say if I want to add like a curves, say an RGB curves, right? I go to effects, and as you can see, nothing is going on. I can really mess with the colors, and check that out. As I do that, you can see that it just updates
Look at
live,
tool
and it
units that
doesn't
I
like,
have, since that would go in there
require
pretty
any type of
easily.
pre-render.
Issue number two, of
When I
course, is
first,
just dust and
started messing with this, I just freaked the hell out because it just really saves a lot of time. Now, not all effects that you apply to your footage, has a benefit of not, being needed to be pre-rendered, but mainly the RGB curves, like I said, you can just mess with it to your heart's content and nothing happens. You don't have to pre-render it, so you can sharpen it and all the stuff. So you have to discover which effects do not require any pre-rendering. If you are a type of editor that mainly works off Premiere Pro, in this case with Paul, this saves me a lot of time. So I can just make sure I do the cuts and all the stuff, and I just add the curves, do some color adjustment, and everything is good to go. So yeah, like this is definitely a very very big time saver, and I'll suggest you guys check that out and look up the GPU acceleration. If you're not too tech savvy, then obviously be sure to ask a friend who is, or just here on YouTube, just look it up. GPU acceleration for I don't know, whatever version of Adobe's Premiere Pro that you have. All right. Alright, so here's a project I did with my buddies. It was a little short music video. I have the link in the descriptions, as well as any other, links of people I mentioned, and check out the descriptions. When it comes to like doing pretty much stylized images and any type of special effects and whatnot, I always prefer to work in After Effects. So as you can see here, pretty much all these are After Effects comps. I'll edit the footage, chop it up here in Premiere Pro, and then pretty much individually I'll take it all to After Effects. That way I can do all my color, grading and stuff like that. After Effects has way better options and just room to do all your color correcting and stuff like that, and color grading, and just I prefer to work that way. I reset it like the previews so I can have like I have to pre-render everything because I want to show you a technique that I've been doing lately to save a lot of time and render time. So this is here's a timeline sequence. It is a 23.976 frames per second at 1080p. Make sure you select your sequence timeline, go to sequence up here, sequence settings, and you want to make sure you have a codec that's pretty much suitable. Make sure your also your video preview files matches your timeline. In this case, is 1920 by 1080p. Microsoft AVI works for me, and the codec what I see working a uncompressed UV UYVY 422 8-bit works for me. If you work on a Mac, I usually set this to a JPEG sequence. That worked for me. So hit OK. Now I'm gonna pretty much let this render, and I'm gonna like show you how long it takes to render all this and to make the preview files at 1080p. So I'm gonna hit render, and most likely I'm just gonna speed it up so this video doesn't drag on forever. Alright, well that didn't fucking work. Originally, basically what I wanted to do, I just wanted to compare showing you the render times of rendering a image sequence in 1080p versus an image sequence that's 720p. Now obviously a 720p is smaller resolution, so the render time should be faster, but I just want to really show you like a how big of a difference it is by rendering this out, but it reached 62% and it fucking crashed. So that is fucking annoying, but I'm gonna render it just this small section here because like I said, like that 62% that it crashed on me, it took like almost 40 minutes to render, and before I decided to eat shit, and I'm too fucking lazy to retry this again. So fuck it. All right, I'm just gonna render this like like 14 seconds. All right, here you go. All right, so we're almost done here. This is about 15 seconds, I believe, of footage that's pre-rendering. Now I turned off my screen capture to make sure it doesn't like interfere with the render time that much, but it's only 50 seconds worth, and its time lapse is it's gonna be 7 minutes, So I'm just gonna wait for this scene to pre-render out, and then I'm gonna show you my method, or a method I discovered recently to render, pre-render a lot faster. In case nobody knows, what's the difference between the yellow bar on top of your footage, the green, and the red? I actually had a friend ask me this. Okay, the yellow bar, pretty much it means that it's playing off the original video source. I mean, there's no preview files associated to whatever footage you have here. So when you drag a footage from to the timeline, and as long as the sequence is matching your footage, it will stay yellow. It'll play, real time directly. Now, when you have a red, it's because you made some adjustments to your original footage, and the computer is saying you modified the original footage, so now you have the pre-render, creating a preview file. So it's not playing off with the original file. It creates preview file, which is what I'm doing now. That's what rendering is. This thing, pre-rendering. And then once you're done, it turns green. That means that this section here, it has preview files. So yeah, that's something that I'll show you how to set up as well. You want to make sure you have a good small size preview files. That way it can pre-render faster and it looks decent. So it's almost done here, and I'll really want to get this shit done. Hurry, 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 you fucking thing. And yeah, it's getting close to 9 minutes for 14 seconds worth of footage. Okay, cool stuff. So 9 minutes to render this. It's, yeah, like I said, it's close to what? Yes, yeah, 17 seconds worth of footage. It took 9 minutes to render this section. All right, now I create a sequence to match the footage. The footage is filmed at 23.976 1080p, obviously. So I want to create a sequence that matches my footage, right? Because you want to, maintain the image data, and you want to make sure you film in 1080p because that's just what you want to do. What I've been doing is I've been creating a new sequence at 720p when I want to start adding my effects and all the stuff and whatever, because like as you saw, I have to pre-render this thing so I'm able to play it in real time, because if you try to play it over the red, nothing happens. I'm hitting the spacebar and it just freezes up. So, starts to stutter, lag, and yeah, it cannot work like that. So, new sequence. Now, I set up here a preset. You go to settings, you create, the new sequence that you want, and you click save preset, and then pretty much name it and all this stuff, right? So, I already have mine made here. So, actually, no, I don't. I'm a fucking idiot. Alright, cool. So let's make one. New setting. So editing mode custom 23976. You want the 720p square pixels, no field, progressive scan, display format, 24 time code. Sample rate, you want to match it to your audio. Most cameras are set to film at 48 Hz. That's fine. Now here's what I was mentioning about the video preview files when you're rendering. It's creating these file formats. Now, for PC, I discovered, for me at least, Microsoft AVI, the codec. For me, uncompressed UYVY 422 8-bit works very well. Also, this is very important for whatever reason. Like I noticed that the preview files are a lower quality. Now you want to make sure this matches your sequence because if not, it's gonna look like shit. It's gonna be compressed because it's a smaller file. So you want to make sure this is matches your video frame size here. 1280 by 720p. So alright, 720. Make sure that's correct. Now maximum render quality. This stuff you want to leave alone. You don't need it. They're preview files. You have to make sure they look good enough so you can see the results as you work. So let's see. Save the preset. 720p, 23.976 FPS, and 48 kilohertz. Now what I do is pretty much I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it in the descriptions. Hit OK. The reason why you want to do that is because if you click on it, you got that same information that you put in as the name of your preset in the description. So I just select that, copy it, put in the source name, copy it, and saves me some time instead of typing everything out again. Hit OK. So here is my original 1080p sequence that I got everything edited. So what I do is select everything, copy it. I'm using command shortcuts. I'm sure you guys know how to do that by now. But right here, you go jump over to your 720p sequence, edit, paste, boom. Alright, so this next part is pretty much the main thing that is gonna help you out. So obviously, because the footage is 1080p and you're inside of a 720p sequence, you're gonna have cropping. So you want to go to edit, select all. Now click on any footage, doesn't matter. And you want to select scale to frame size. As you can see, pretty much what that does is it maintains the 1080p resolution, but it fits your footage into the 720p sequence, right? Now, if you go to the fixed control, you can see that pretty much it says scale, 100. So instead of scaling it down from 1080p to 720p, that would have been 67%, right? So that is pretty important. I could also just a little bonus tip. What I like to do usually is I like to leave the originals alone. So in this case, I got the original footage here in the bottom, and then what I do is I just select this whole. Once I'm done with the editing, I just select it, and then pretty much I paste it right directly on top of it. That way, in case something bad happens, if I mess up the footage, pretty much I already have the original underneath it. But you don't need it, per se in the final render. I just have it as a backup, so in case anybody's wondering what I'm doing. But yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna go back to trying to render the same section that was like 17 seconds long, and it took about 9 minutes to render. So alright, I'm gonna hit render, then I'm gonna stop recording, and I'll come back to show you how long it takes. Oh shit. Alright, here we go, and the fuck, really? Well, I didn't even fucking catch that. Alright, I'm gonna re-render this. Hold on a sec. Alright, so this is kind of like the third time on me recording this. What happens is that I stop my screen capture, and then once I think it's about to finish rendering, I try to turn it on, but then it'll finish, and look at that. The same 17-second clip that took 9 minutes to render at 1080p is taking roughly 25 seconds. Holy shit. Wow, awesome, right? Yeah, so this is really, really a great way for you to save some time. If you're like me that likes to add a lot of filters to your videos, I personally, I don't know, I just like the overall colorful look. You saw the massive difference from like, rendering from a 1080p, then pre-rendering down to 720p. It went from 9 minutes to 25 seconds. It's a major difference. So. Yeah, now this requires you to do some planning. Okay, the thing is with me is I will work everything in 1080p, right? Say I got all the clips down, and then I'll go individually one by one. Create a After Effects comp in the 1080p sequence. Once that's done, I select everything, then bring it into your 720p. Select everything and make sure you hit scale to frame size. The problem is, see if, okay, let's go over here. Let me get a footage. If you try to, so let me get a scene here. Zoom in there. And then just shorten it here a bit. Right click on it and you hit, scale to frame size. So now pretty much, this fits the 720p, and then you right click on it and you hit replace with After Effects composition. Alright, so pretty much what happens is pretty much once you create a composition in After Effects, right click on it and see composition settings. It's, the composition is set at, the 720p is not at 1080p, so you don't want that. You want to retain the 1080p, kind of like the other footage. See, it's at 1080p, right? Now, that is important for this reason. See, pretty much you're done, doing all your color correcting and whatnot, you saved a lot of time, doing this method. So what I do is I create a final sequence, file, new sequence. And in this case, I want a 1080p, again, make sure you match the frame size, the frame rates. So you copy that, paste, let's just say this is the final render. Hit OK. Now, remember, all this footage has the scale to frame size selected. So I'm gonna go to Edit, select all, Edit, copy. Now go to your final 1080p render. Make sure your frame rates and audio kilohertz are matching. Hit Edit and paste. Okay, and now because we maintain the 1080p metadata, image size, or whatever you call it, because of if I right click on it, see how it says scale to frame size? Yeah, so pretty much if I was to select all of it, right click and unchecked it, pretty much it all stays at 1080p, Whereas see like this last clip that we did that I showed you, if I brought in my footage and then I made a scale to frame size and then I open it up in After Effects, it stays to 720p, so you don't want to do that. So now from here, pretty much, because this is the final render, we were doing all our color correcting and effects in 720p. Pretty much the thing you're doing is you're saving time by creating preview files that are in 720p rather than 1080p. So that saves you a lot of time, and you're still in HD. So once you're happy with here, just copy it all, create a new sequence that's 1080p, paste it all, and because it's originally 1080p and you have the scale to frame size check thing, everything is good to go. You just render this out and you save yourself a fucking lot of time. So yeah, like I said, it's a lot of planning ahead. If you plan on just doing maybe 2 or 3 effects in After Effects, and then this is probably not that important to you. But like me, that like I said, every single individual clip, it has some After Effects, filtering done to it, and a lot of color correcting, glows. Just there's a lot of stuff I do in After Effects, so this method is very, very powerful. So just a recap: do all your editing Do all your editing with your original footage. Make sure everything's looking good the way you want it. Just to show you the difference, that's pretty much the raw, and then that's After Effects. So once you have everything, lined up, I don't know what the fuck happened here, but what I do is I just select the whole edited part, then I just, paste it on top. That way, just to save like the raw original file just in case. I went individually, made After Effects composition. That way it creates a 1080p After Effects composition. Select all, select all, right click, select scale to frame size, create a new sequence that's 720p, paste it, and because you have scale to frame size selected, it will match your 720p, and then it will save you a shitload of time pre-rendering. Because like if you're like me, pretty much I'll make a little adjustment, render it out in Premiere Pro. If I don't like something, I'll go back to After Effects, I'll make some adjustments. Obviously you have to pre-render again, and I kept doing that till I find what I like, and that can take up a lot of time if I don't use this method. Alright, that is all I have for you guys tonight today. I hope I made myself pretty clear. I'm more of a visual learner, so I hope that I'm able to, show you the benefits of doing this. um, if you made it this far, thanks a lot, appreciate it. Be sure to click like, leave a comment, and also subscribe. I do plan on making more videos such as these, and some quick tips. Well, hopefully it's quick, but you know showing you what I've learned, because one of the most important things you gotta learn is to work with what you got. All right. Now, obviously, I have thanks to Paul's hardware, I have a better computer than my iMac, but still, there's always limitations. And me, I like using a lot of filters on my work. I like making stuff look, very animated and cartoon-like, and I just use a lot of filtrations and effects, and that does start to like slow down your computer, and the render times can be fucking long. So that's why I started messing around with this method of editing. And like I said, pretty much what you're doing is you're messing with the saving time by creating preview files in Premiere Pro. Now, you can also like hit, the whatchamacallit, RAM preview, but I don't like doing that because Premiere Pro, I have music going and all that stuff, and I have a different feel when I do all the previews inside of Premiere Pro. So I just prefer to do it this way instead of doing RAM previews. Not only that, you have one clip after another. So if I see something that's not right, say if like I don't know, for whatever reason this scene looks too dark or too light, compared to like the previous or the clip after it, and I can make my adjustments, and then just it's just how it works. So yeah, this saves a lot of time. One more thing, I do have a lot of ideas on doing certain special effects. I want to do a lot of like superhero powers, and just really want to go off the top. Another thing I like to do is if there's something I see like a certain VFX, I want to try to. My way of doing things is trying to figure out the quickest and simplest way to get things done. Um, Not necessarily by losing image quality. I want to make sure I produce like the best visual content possible, but I also want to try to save time by making sure, by finding the ways to get things done the quickest the quickest form possible, right? So I'll be showing you guys whatever I learn as I go. So no real form, no real structure in my channel. I'm just doing this for fun, for free time. So yeah, as my ideas come, I'll just film it on the spot off the top of my head. So if I sound like a dumbass most of the time, it's because I am. All right. Anyways, thanks again, and take care. Peace.